Guys, what's up? I am back. It's been a while. It's been a good 3 months that I've been away. Don't worry, I am back. A lot has gone on, and I wanted to fill you guys in with why I've been away. It's life has been a bit hectic, but more so on the business side of things with property. It has been a saga, guys. It's been a saga. So today, I'm going to fill you in. It's a story of a failed property investment that's taken 2 years, guys. 2 years. If you saw my video some time ago about why I'm never investing in off-plan property again, that was back in October. It was the intro, I guess, the background to what's happened now. I'll give you an overview just to get you up to speed, but watch that video for the detail. When I left that video, I was working to the assumption that the property was going to be built by March of this year, which was the final date that they gave. But this story, guys, it's about a failed property investment that's taken 2 years. There's been 6 delays, 6 completion delays, and it's still delayed now. It's cost me just over £2,500 in legal fees that I cannot get back. And today what I really want to share with you is all of my lessons learned. I usually share with you what's going right. Most things within my property business go right. You know, my properties are running all by themselves. The money's coming in month to month. I don't have any real issues. But this has been a purchase that has gone tits up, guys. And I want to share my losses, my learning points, as well as my wins with you. I like to be completely transparent on this channel. So buckle up, guys. By the way, guys, my name is Warren. I'm a banker in London and I invest in property all over the UK. My goal is to live on my own terms. My goal is to have my income from property to pay for all of my living costs in the next 5 years and live free. And this is my journey that I document. And today is the story of an investment that I hope would get me further towards those goals, that goal, but has gone wrong. And I'm sharing it with you today. So let's start back in March 2020. I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour, an overview. If you want to know the full detail, go back to the video in October that was called Why I Won't Be Investing in Off-Plan Property Again. Essentially, so I saw this property at the beginning of lockdown in March 2020. Remember that time when this virus came out of nowhere and suddenly we were stuck indoors for what turned out to be almost 2 years. So I saw it in March 2020. Put down a reservation fee, £5,000, and said, I'm committed to this property. I want this property. It was going to be built in Q4, so basically the end of 2020, and it was going to be used for serviced accommodation. And that really appealed to me, because serviced accommodation is a great strategy for high incomes. And really the great thing about this project, guys, this property, was that it was going to be managed by the developer. So I wouldn't have to manage that property myself. I wouldn't have to be managing like changeovers, cleaning, booking and all that kind of stuff. It was going to be managed by the developer or the management company that they were going to put in, and it'll be hands-off investment, right? So anyway, along comes COVID, and completion gets delayed to March 2021. Now, I can't fault the developer for that. They didn't create COVID in a lab somewhere. China did, but it wasn't their fault, right? So I said, okay, it's a delay. It's an act of God, for want of a better word. It's out of our hands, out of the developer's hands. So March 2021 is the date. I'm willing to wait until then. In that time between March 2020, when I saw the property, and March 2021, I actually exchanged on the property. Now that's really, really important. When you exchange on a property, i.e. you pay your deposit to the solicitor, who eventually transfer your deposit to the seller's solicitor, you are committed to the purchase. You can't back out after that. And that's going to be really, really, really important for the sake of this story. So remember that, guys. I exchanged in November 2020, right? But at the time, I'm saying, right, okay, I exchanged November 2020. The property is going to be finished 4 months from now. All good. I'm going to start getting that nice cash. It's going to start rolling in, that serviced accommodation cash. Had to wait 3 months more, but you know, it is what it is. But of course, COVID continued. So then we get another delay, August 2021. I'm like, okay, August 2021, an extra 5 months. Really not ideal, but what can you do again? I'm going to go with it. We'll wait until August 2021. 5 months worth of, well, by that time, it will be 8 months worth of income that I'll have missed out on. But, you know, when we think back to 2021, March of that year, and what was happening COVID-wise. I believe there was still a lockdown. It was understandable, right? So we get towards August 2021. So last week I'm like, okay, I'm going to get an email any minute now from the developer, from the agent, saying that, okay, the property is going to be delivered. End of August left, it went. And I'm like, what's going on here? Emailed my agent. I said, hey, look, August 2021, what's happening? Oh, sorry, mate, just a little bit more of a delay. We've completed some of the other floors, so trust me, yours going to be ready. The new date is March 2022.
Halfway.
Really, bro? So by that stage, guys, I'm like, I understand that there's a global pandemic. I understand that there's a shortage of supplies, of labor, projects in all industries are taking a hit. Companies are falling left, right and center. People are losing their jobs. I get all of that. But, this is a problem. So I'm now looking for a way out, guys. So I email my solicitor and I say, hey, how can I get out of this? Because basically, where we're at now with March 2022, initially when I saw this property in March 2020, the forecast was that it was going to be delivered by December 2020. Now, you're telling me March 2022, well, not the solicitor, but the developer's telling me March 2022. That's a year and 3 months, 15 months delay. I want out. Solicitor came back to me and said, look, you've exchanged. You can't get out of it. You're committed to this purchase. The only way that you can withdraw from this purchase is if they meet what's called a Longstop date. Now, a Longstop date, long story short, is a date that's given in the contract with off-plan properties that basically stipulates that if the property isn't built and ready for completion by this date, you can pull out. Longstop date rarely gets surpassed when it comes to property. But in my mind, I'm thinking, the long stop date was March 2022, by the way. So in my mind, I'm thinking there's no way they're going to overshoot the long stop date. I mean, that's going to give essentially a whole bunch of investors the opportunity to pull out of this development. They've taken 18 months, an extra 18 months to build it. There's no way that they'll allow that date to pass and put themselves at risk, right? They're going to have built this property, paid for it, and not have these investors that are really ready, willing, desperate to buy this property there to complete on the purchase. But you'll be very, very surprised, guys. These developers are a joke. This is probably one of the projects from hell. So anyway, the date came and they haven't finished it, and they haven't even told us, they haven't told the investors.
It's above me now.
Such as myself, that, hey, we're going to miss this date. And I understand why. They don't want people to know that they're going to delay it even further, because there's already been 5 delays prior to this. So I'm basically on the phone to my solicitor the day of. I was like, have they sent a notice to complete yet? Basically, a notice to complete is the developer's solicitor notifying the buyer, i.e. me, my solicitor, that the property is ready and let's go ahead and complete. That didn't come. So I'm like, okay, guys, get on the phone to the solicitor, send the fax, send the email, send the letter that I want out, right? 18 months is time that I can't get back, guys. If this property purchase had gone to plan, and it was ready by December 2020, I would have had at that stage 18 months worth of income, good income, guys, coming through the door, taking me further towards my goal, which I said at the beginning was to live on my own terms, to be free, to have all of my costs, my living costs covered by income from property. So my priority, guys, is to really maximize my income from property over the next 5 years. Yes, I do want equity. I do want the rise in value of property over time. But really what I'm looking for is freedom before I'm 40. So this whole 18-month saga really has impacted that. It's impacted my timeline, my 5-year timeline to become financially free. And what's really important, guys, is that my deposit, that is around about £35,000 in total, the deposit for this property, has been sitting dormant for 18 months. It's not been working for me. It hasn't gone towards the property completed and I'm now getting a return on the property. It's just been with the solicitor because I couldn't pull out until the long stop date of March 2022, sorry. So really that's the story, guys. So I'm now in the process of really waiting for my money, my deposit to come back. We sent the notice to rescind, that's what it's called, i.e. my desire to pull out of the purchase, according to the agreement that I signed, that the developer signed. I have the right to do that, and they're supposed to return my deposit within 28 working days. So we're almost at the end of that. I want to get my deposit back and go off and do other stuff, because this has been a nightmare. But what I wanted to really share with you guys are my learning points. So I have been in a situation that I didn't sign up for and I didn't expect at all. But I've learned a lot, and I want to share it with you guys, especially those of you who are looking at buying off-plan properties. So properties that aren't built yet, but you know, they're going to deliver something in the future that looks really snazzy, that looks really great. I want you to be aware of the risks and what can go wrong. And my caveat is, guys, my last three property purchases, including the house that I live in, have all been off plan. So I'm not saying that they're bad. I've bought into them myself, guys, but I want you to be aware of the risks. So first of all, when it comes to buying off plan properties, you are completely and wholly dependent on the developer to deliver that property, that development, those buildings by the date that they said they were going to. Now, I know that, you know, you throw COVID into the mix, that's been a big factor here. I'm completely aware of that. But COVID aside, there are things that the developer could have done to manage this, in my opinion, a lot better. So do your research, guys. Do your research on the developer. Look them up on Google, look at other developments that they've delivered, and check whether they've delivered those developments to spec, and most importantly, on time. Have they overshot on a lot of their other developments? Are they a brand new developer who's never developed and delivered a project before? You know, is this their first rodeo, as they say? I personally would not go for a developer who's doing it for the first time. I want a developer with a track record, but something for you guys to take into account there. Number two, guys, pay attention to what's called the long stop date in the contract. Now, as I said earlier on, the long stop date is a date by which the developer has to deliver the development and have the whole transaction completed. Now, if the long stop date is way out in the future, say it's 2 years away, right? You are locked into that purchase for the next 2 years. You can't get out of it, right? So what you really want to look out for is long stop dates that are really excessively far into the future. I've learned that over this transaction. My long stop date, when I look back on it, was 15 months into the future. If I do ever buy another off-plan development, which is highly unlikely at this stage, you know, things could change in the future. I'm not signing up for any project with a long stop date more than 12 months into the future, ideally less than 12 months. But again, that's just my personal preference, having gone through this, but you're all individuals out there, so do what works for you, but be sensible about it, guys. And then lastly, exchange and complete at the same time if you can. Now, you might have noticed, and I said earlier on, I exchanged in November 2020. The long stop date was in March 2022. So there's a 14-month gap between those dates. I exchanged, and as I said, I am legally bound to complete on the purchase. I cannot pull out at this stage, and then I have to wait 14 months until I can. So that's 14 months of pulling my hair out, guys. That's 14 months of my deposit being tied into a project and I can't get it back. That's 14 months of chasing developers, chasing sales agents. When's it going to be ready? When am I going to start getting income? That's 14 months of stress, frustration, guys. The way around that, a potential way around that, is to exchange and complete at the same time, right? And again, that's probably the most key learning point that I've gotten from this whole experience. If you exchange and complete at the same time on the same day, that means, you know, you're basically free to pull out at any stage all the way up until completion, because legally I'm not bound to the purchase. I can jump ship whenever I want, take my deposit, say thanks guys, you know what, I'm going to go do something else over there. So guys, that has been my experience. Like I said, a crazy last 3 months. Pray for me, because I still need the seller solicitor to transfer my deposit back to me. That's 30 plus grand. Legally, there isn't really any reason why it shouldn't happen, but I still appreciate prayers for that to happen swiftly. But let me know in the comment section below, guys. Have you had any difficult experiences with buying a house, either to live in or to invest in? Has it been developer related, seller related, solicitor related? Let me know. I really want to know. I want you to share it because other people will see this and hopefully benefit from it too. I'm back. Good to be back, guys. Drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.